Hey there, welcome to NZ Money Karma. Today we're going to have a look through my pantry. It's getting towards the very end of summer here in New Zealand, and I want to do a bit of a stock take to see what do I need to do what do I need to get for my next food co-op order? What else can I preserve? What do I need to stock up on? Call me paranoid, but I like to have cupboards full going into winter. So come and join me, let's have a look. So this is just my kitchen pantry, so please excuse the mess. Um, I don't know if I should have tidied this or not beforehand, but I thought I would be a bit more authentic if I just took you through how everything actually looks. So I've got a bit of oil, I've got some Thai sweet chili sauce there, some vinegar, some soy sauce, a couple of spices. I actually have a spice drawer which I forgot to have a look in. But I do put all the things that I need to stock up on immediately just into this pantry on the shelf so I can come back and have a look and go, okay, next time I'm at the supermarket, I know I need to get, whatever. At the moment, I think there's sesame oil and a few other bits. So this is the flour that I just collect each week. One of the things I really want to get this year is a wheat grinder, and then I can mill wheat as I need it. That will be so much healthier, but that's what I've got at the moment. In this kind of space, I just have all the things that I might need for a daily cook. So I've got some garlic in there. I've got this container here. This has our bread that I make each day in it. So that's what the kids use today for their sandwiches. I've got a great new recipe and it's turning out a treat. I haven't had a failed loaf of bread since I've been using this. Here I've got a whole lot of dried products. I've got chana, chickpeas, different kinds of beans. There's about a kg in each of those bags. There should be a kg, that's what I bought. Everything's full except for the chickpeas, which I've taken a cup out of to make some hummus this week. I need to stock up on more of these. I would love to be able to buy them in bulk, but this is what I've got at the moment. In this bucket in my pantry, I've got about 5 kgs of arborio rice. I've taken out one small container, so I don't need any more of that. In here, what have I got? This was 25 kgs of red lentils. There is not 25 kgs there anymore. I'm probably down to about the last 5, so I'm going to need to reorder that for sure. Into another pantry. We have very weird storage in our house, so it's kind of a bit everywhere. Wherever we can find a space, we use. Here I've got 25 kgs of rice. I actually ordered the wrong rice, so it's white rice, and none of us love it, so we're not eating rice a lot, but I'm not ordering anything else until this is gone. So there's pretty much 25 kgs. Next door, I did have 25 kgs of organic rolled oats. That's mostly up. I go through one of those every 6 months or so. So there's probably only 3 or 4 kgs left. So I definitely need to order another rolled oats at the next food co-op order. Here I've got a whole bunch of different things that I use almost every day, either to make salad or baking. So I've got red quinoa, I've got chia seeds in there. Those are pretty full. I have filled up small jars, I think, with each of those products, but they're pretty much a full bag. So they range from 2.5 kgs to 5 kgs, depending if I bought them in that particular bag or if I filled it up from a bulk bag at the food co-op. Definitely helps though using the food co-op, keeps prices under control. Here's some of the things that I've made to store away for the winter. So I've got kiwi fruit chutney, I've got mint sauce. The mint sauce didn't turn out great. I think it's a bit too liquidy, not thick enough. Here's it's meant to be mango chutney if I use speech marks, but it's yellow plum chutney. So mangoes are kind of pricey in New Zealand. They don't grow anywhere near where I live in the South Island. You do get them up north in Northland, but we have lots and lots of yellow plums that just litter the sidewalks. So when it's yellow plum season, I've been going and collecting kilograms and kilograms of them to make yellow plum chutney, and that goes really nicely with a curry. It goes nicely with lots of things actually, but curry is especially good in place of a mango chutney. Okay, so there's nothing in these cupboards that are going to set your world on fire. It's all very normal, stock standard. Here's a bit of pasta. This is the cheapest pasta you can get, and that's what I always buy. I've never bought organic pasta. The price difference is just too much. It'll be like the difference between $1 for pasta and $5 or $6. Popcorn too. That's not going anywhere because the kids can't eat it anymore. Got a bag of sun-dried tomatoes. That's dried. Up here I've got herbs. So I'm scooting back to my other pantry. I make all my own mixed herbs. So throughout summer I dry herbs and I just dry them in these little egg containers. So you'll see some of the completed herbs in the jars. So I've got mixed herbs in there. I've got mint, I'll have lemon balm, all sorts of different things. I've got for psyllium husks, I just use the plantain, that kind of stuff. In this particular egg carton, I've got coriander seeds. So I've never actually dried them before because I've always not been able to grow coriander very well. I guess is the reason why I haven't done that. So I was in the garden the other day and I just saw that all the coriander's gone to seed. And I was like, oh, the coriander's gone to seed. And then it took me a couple of seconds to think, oh, coriander seeds, coriander, you should collect those. So I did. There's much more to come though. It's just been a bit wet, so I need for the seeds to dry out again properly before I collect them. So I'm just drying them there. And then I'll try and powder them for some, just for a bit of coriander when that's called for in a curry recipe. But otherwise, that's also nice to have. Here I've got some onion weed flowers. And then I've got the psyllium husk right on the far right. That's kind of orangey. That's actually dried orange peel. So I've dried the orange peel and then I've ground it up. And I sometimes use that in cakes. And that gives kind of a nice orangey flavour, or smell at least. And there, the upside down jar, that's some fermenting garlic. So I've got some garlic, honey, and then each day I turn that around a different way and then that slowly ferments. And we use that in winter to help keep ourselves healthy. So if any colds come our way, we start taking garlic honey like mad people. Kids can't walk into the kitchen without me trying to give them garlic honey. And here are all my drying herbs. So they're not finished, they're in process. There's things in there like thyme, oregano, coriander, parsley. There's probably some mint. Anything I can find that I can dry. Soon it will be rosemary. Oh, there's some lavender and some calendula. So whatever I can dry, I just snip a little bit off regularly. So I don't do one big harvest on one particular day, except for the rosemary, which I will do on one full day. And that's because that's quite a hedge and I need to trim the hedge all at one time to keep it kind of nice and tidy. So now I'm doing a little look at what things I've preserved so far. So I know on my list I need red lentils, oats, and some dried fruit. That's what's come up already. So that's my big bulk purchases. Little things like pasta and what have you, I can just build up slowly. Here's some beetroot that I've been preserving. Nothing that I've actually grown myself. I've bought all the fruit in that I've been using so far. Slowly making my way down to the bottom cupboard. And here I've got more beetroot. So I've got beetroot chutney plus just bottled beetroot and tons of tomato relish. That's been my favourite thing to make this year. It's really expensive in the supermarket. So if we were going to have a jar of relish, and this is nice relish, not the cheapest relish, it would be probably around $7 or $8 for a big jar. I made all this relish. I made about 13 big jars and it cost me about $12. So less than $1 a jar, I reckon. So that's pretty good. And I'm going to make more. I just need to wait until I can kind of source. the tomatoes that are being sold cheap because they're a bit squishy or not 100%, which is what I want to use for making sauce tomatoes. I certainly don't have enough tomatoes in my garden to be doing this, unfortunately. Remains an aspirational goal of mine to be able to make passata and relish out of my own garden, but I'm yet to achieve that, unfortunately. My goal was to get to 100 preserves, and I'm just over 50, so I'm going to keep working on that. But a big part of our food resilience, or kind of a food stock take, where I have a look and think, what do we need to get so that we're organised for winter, is having a quick look in the garden. Some things have gone great this year, and other things have just been total flops. I'd say on a scale of 0 to 10, my garden has been a very average 5 this year, and I probably need to do some work on the soil. So you can see I've just been past carrots and lettuce. That's all gone great guns. Everything's gone to seed really early this year. It hasn't been that hot, but it's been windy. And despite tons of watering, I think it's just dried everything out. So that's lemon balm, that's all gone to seed. You can see fennel there, that's also gone to seed. I collect the fennel seeds and then use that in my bread as well. So I don't mind fennel that's gone to seed. We mostly have it there just because we used to feed it to our sweet pet rabbit who is no longer with us. So I don't need it desperately for anything, but we just kind of like it. It does give a nice flavour to the bread. In here, this is just right outside my back door, and I mostly just have herbs in this particular garden. And this is where I'm going to be cutting more herbs, the ones that haven't gone to seed, obviously, to dry in the pantry. So this is where I'm getting my thyme, so that in winter time I've got it and I can use it on pizzas, that kind of thing. Here into my little tomato patch. It is pretty small and it does get a battering from the wind, but they've grown okay. So I've only done cherry tomatoes this year, given that I just haven't had much success with tomatoes. So I just thought keep it simple. And whilst there haven't been buckets of them, like our neighbour who has a greenhouse is literally giving away buckets of them at his gate, we have had enough that we can pick them each day, and there's enough for either a salad or in the kids' lunches, that kind of thing. This is my neglected part of my garden. It's a nice avocado tree that's self-sown. But apart from that, everything is pretty average. Everything's gone to seed in that section, and I've just kind of left it. If potatoes are popped up, great, but I haven't done anything because I'm redoing the garden this year. There's some beans. You can see that my TP has been pushed over with the wind. This part of the garden right here has got powdery mildew also. So it's still producing okay, but it definitely could be better. So I feel like I have neglected it somewhat. This part looks quite lush, and that's because there's a whole lot of old silver beet that has gone to seed. So it's really protecting it from the wind. So I know next year I'm going to have to do so much better in protecting my garden from the wind. I haven't figured out how I'm going to do that, but it's really had a battering. I don't know if this is going to be something that happens all the time or if it was just this particular summer. So here I've got some Jerusalem artichokes, which I don't really want there, but they grow, so I've left them, and some yams. I've also never grown yams before, but my neighbour gave me some, so I popped them in the ground. I'm looking forward to seeing how they turn out. Surrounding our backyard, we've planted a feijoa hedge. When we moved in, there was griselinia all around the fence line, and just really perfect grass. They had put down some turf. So it looked very nice, but it wasn't very useful for growing food. So we've been here 3 years, and this is what we've done. The trees have grown pretty well, so I think the soil's all right, but we do need to just take care of it a little bit better, I think. So the feijoas are looking good. We're actually starting to get some feijoas. This will be the first year that we've had any fruit from the hedge. That's in the background. You can kind of see around by the fence. Let's go and have a little bit of a closer look. So we have big plans for our feijoas once this hedge is pumping and producing thousands of feijoas. If you're not familiar with a feijoa, they're a fruit that grows, I don't know, anywhere between maybe 7 or 8 centimetres. I've seen some that are probably closer to 20 centimetres. These are still little, they'll at least double in size and double in width. And they have the most delicious flesh. They are my absolute favourite fruit, my husband's favourite fruit as well. So we feel like we won't be giving tons away. We will be eating them. We will be making feijoa wine. We'll be making jam and chutneys. And only then will we give away our surplus. But I feel like we've planted so many trees. We've got near 30 that with a bit of luck, we'll have all our feijoa needs met. And in the background there, you can just see our apple tree. Again, this needs a good prune because it hasn't done as well as it did last year. It's got codling moth as well, so we need to make sure we do something about that next time as well. But you know, you live and learn with gardening, don't you? It's not an exact science, and sometimes I find that while I'm focusing on one thing, trying to get one thing really good and right, then I somehow manage to neglect another, and then I'm kind of thinking, oh, next year I really must get on to make sure I'm pruning and make sure I'm doing this or that. Do you know what I mean? So it's not, I need to get into a better routine, I think, with just figuring out what I need to do, when I need to do it, and then making sure I actually do it at that particular time. And this here's just a little scope of the garden. This little garden here was only ever for fun. When we arrived at this house, they had ripped out what we hear from the neighbours was a really great producing apple tree. We didn't know this at the time, so we've planted a cherry tree there. It hasn't fruited yet. Hopefully that will happen next year. It will be 3 years by the time the next season comes, and I'm pretty hungry for cherries. So in amongst that, we've also planted a whole lot of different herbs, and there's a lemon, lavender, some currants there, and then there's a lime down the back. Hopefully they'll all start producing. There's little flowers on the lime, so I feel hopeful for maybe next year, but probably we won't get anything this time around. Then when I was around to the other side of the house, we've planted a big fig tree. Again, we planted this 3 years ago, but we paid the extra money and bought a mature tree. The last house we lived at, we started everything from scratch, many things from cuttings, and then 7 or 8 years later when we were getting ready to leave, everything's just starting to take off. This time I thought, I just want to get in, I want to hit the ground running, I want to be picking fruit from my own trees, not in 7 or 8 years' time. I want to do that like the next summer. And this fig has been great. The birds get a lot of them, and I don't mind. I know I've said that feijoas are my very favourite fruit, and that's true for fresh fruit, but my very favourite dried fruit is figs. So maybe one day if we have a massive fig tree and it's producing so well, I'll be able to start drying some of our own figs. But probably not this year. All good things will come to those who wait, right? And then over here I have a very random spot of garden. Now, this particular garden that we're walking over to was never actually even meant to have vegetables in it. It's just kind of happened, and I'm not sure if I'm going to keep it like that. I feel like I'm going to probably clear it and try and do something prettier with it. But lots of things have just started growing. Or, you put in a couple of Jerusalem artichokes one year because you have the spare space, and next minute you've got, 50,000 Jerusalem artichokes, and they're blocking out all the light, everything else. So I wouldn't necessarily do this section the same if I had my time over, but it is what it is, and it is producing food, and that's a good thing. So here I can see I've got plenty of Jerusalem artichokes. I'm not sure if we'll get to it yet, but there's heaps and heaps of potatoes around this area as well. There's a bit of corn. We're not big corn eaters, but I think all the corn in New Zealand is genetically modified, so I try and grow my own corn. And I just blanch that and then freeze it, and that's what I'd use if we were going to have a Mexican dish or something and I just wanted to put some frozen corn in. I'll just use my own. And we also have pumpkins growing in amongst that. Hopefully they're getting enough light. I don't know. I can't really find them. It's planted too densely for me to get in and kind of walk around and have a look. So I just put the hose in there and I'm hoping for the best. I know sometimes in winter though, pumpkins can go for, $6 or $7 a pumpkin. And we haven't bought a pumpkin for years. So I'm hoping at least we probably need maybe 8 pumpkins for our family. Some years we've had up to 30. We've never had less than 8. So as long as we've got 8, we'll be fine. I don't want to be buying a pumpkin. And all along here, this is the potato patch. Again, this isn't where I planted potatoes. I planted them out the other side of the house. These have just all sprung up, and I don't know if it's from our compost, because we direct dig our compost into the soil, so we don't have a composting bin. It's called trench composting, I think, is the correct word. So we basically go out to an empty patch of garden, dig a hole, and put our compost in that hole, and then cover it up with dirt and call it a day. It's a super easy way to start composting. And it also helps me out because I'm actually a bit afraid of rodents. When I say a bit afraid, I'm very afraid of rodents. So I really don't want to be opening up a compost bin and having a mouse jump out at me, or, heaven forbid, a rat. So digging straight into the ground works really well. We also have a worm farm, so we just kind of top that up with a little bit, but it can't take care of all our food waste. So we make sure we trench compost, and that works pretty well too. So there's a few pumpkins you can see there, a bit of corn. Some of the corn's been ravaged by birds, but there's other corn that you can see just poking off there. That'll be due for harvest in the next, I guess, month. We'll be heading into autumn, so that's kind of exciting. So that's it for my pantry review. I know I need to do a big bulk order so I can get our stocks up of some dried fruit and a few beans and definitely some more rolled oats. Otherwise, I'm quite good in that department. The garden, whilst it's been good for summer just to eat from, it's not going to provide me with anything for the winter. I haven't done a good enough job, unfortunately. So all my preserves, I need to start looking around for the sale products at the fruit and veg shop and make sure that I'm buying those sale items and then preserving them. So I'm preserving in season, even if I'm not growing it myself. That still makes more economic sense, I think, than waiting till winter and then buying products off the shelf. So whether it's jam or chutneys. So that's it for me. I hope that was enjoyable, and I look forward to seeing you guys next time.